Another World of Pew podcast. How's it going tonight?
It's going well, Chris. I'm starting to feel a bit much better now, and now my wife's sick, so
Oh no.
she's been coughing and stuff, but she hasn't lost her voice, so I guess that's the bright side.
Yeah, this is Kira Dawn. She was a little sick last week, right?
Yeah, I think I was still in recovery. I'm still recovering right now. I'm not. I think I'm like 99% there. So
Oh man. Yeah, I've had the sniffles for the past week, but it's
that's for someone going around.
yeah, I don't know. And I get sad because my daughter's not feeling too well tonight, and you always are afraid, like, did you give it to her? But yeah, sometimes the families it just kind of goes back and forth between people. So I don't know. So we'll have to kind of keep trucking away. Should be good. Well, it's a Monday, and we probably should say what day it is so people know when we're recording this, so people listen to it afterwards. But September 9th, lots of interesting things happening. Just kind of a lot of weird news stories. Kind of wanted to play this video, Brandon, as we're hanging out here talking. Did you see this guy?
Yeah, I saw a clip of him. He basically caught a cell phone that flew in midair.
Yeah, let's see if we can catch it. Yeah, here's the whole video courtesy of YouTube. Oh, I think we missed it. Let's try again. Okay, so they're on a ride. I believe it was Australia where they were at,
Huh.
and they're progressing. And obviously, when you're on a big roller coaster, you got to keep your cell phone secured. It didn't quite happen, and this guy, there you go.
Bam. I love how he extended his arms so all the way over just to catch it. Like,
Now, I guess that was coming from a car beforehand or something. And he luckily happened to catch it. He was calling it a big triumph for him. I don't know, Brandon. How impressive is that? I mean, I guess it's luck, but is there any skill to that?
oh yeah. I mean, like if you think about it, well, I'm sure there's a lot of physics in there where it's certainly plausible or whatnot, but but otherwise it's still kind of cool to look at that while they're going at like what 60 miles per hour in a roller coaster, maybe even faster. This object falls out of someone's pocket probably and flew out, and he was able to, despite feeling the wind in his face or the velocity of the rockiness of the coaster, he's still able to keep his wits about him and catch it. So, you know, just that's what we call luck there for the guy who lost his phone. I mean, this happened to me actually somewhat 5-10 years ago when I maybe not 5-10 years, but so within that time, within the last 10 years, I was on a roller coaster ride and my phone had slid out of my pocket and it was like lying and it was a flip phone, so it was like lying on the and the way the roller coaster was designed. It was like it slid into the metal part that was located behind my seat, where Tori, my wife, was sitting with a relative or a friend, and they saw the phone. They tried to get it, but they couldn't get it in time, and it fell off the coaster. So thankfully, I got the phone back later, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't flow out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you got to secure those things, I guess. But interesting. Story comes from Gizmodo. The guy's from New Zealand. I guess he was riding a roller coaster in Spain, and he just he saw iPhone in the air. He jumped out, stretched his hand out, and caught it. And interesting. This is the Shambhalaya at Port Aventura theme park. The roller coaster is a Shambhalaya, and it reaches a top speed of 80 miles per hour. So kind of impressive that he caught that on an 80-mile-per-hour ride.
Yeah,
Yeah, very interesting. Now, here's one thing that's disappointing. Now, they're saying it's an iPhone 10X. Obviously, if the guy doesn't have insurance, it costs hundreds of dollars of damages and everything. And they asked this guy on the local news station, hey, what did the other dude say? And according to Gizmodo, the guy who caught the phone said he was super surprised it happened at the same time. He gave me a big hug and said he was going to buy the on-ride video for me. Now, Brandon, the guy saved this guy probably hundreds of dollars in damages. Buying the on-ride video, is that enough of a prize for saving this guy's phone?
In hindsight, yeah, it certainly paid off. He's getting the publicity for it for sure, so that's kind of priceless, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that because obviously the guy uploaded right to YouTube. I'm seeing here over 5.6 million videos, so times this video's been watched. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I'd be kind of disappointed. I guess you do things out of niceness of your heart, not necessarily looking for a reward. But oh, so you think the viral video is worth it?
Yeah, I would say. Hey, any gesture is appreciated. I would say. You would, would you like if this guy, gave you a Benjamin for your troubles? Sure, but you know, um, you know, it's just nice to see the guy, do a good thing. Anyway, you wouldn't, and it's hard to gauge whether you should do more than how much you should repay someone for doing the nice thing. It's always kind of a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Well, bravo, Samuel. Very impressive. Wanted to talk a little bit, and these next two stories kind of go together. It was interesting. There's a story talking about the Browns, and obviously the Browns flopped yesterday, but this was a story written before the Browns, had a good game. They were talking about like when you're on Madden, obviously you pick teams to play and everything. Well, the usage of the Browns is up 161%. So, they got a lot of publicity. People are more excited about watching them. Well, Brandon, what I want to talk to you about is actually this next story. So, you look at the marketability of teams and everything, and it's gotten interesting. Pizza Hut just came up with a deal with EA Sports as the official sponsor of Madden NFL 20. Now, this is interesting because on the virtual stadiums, they'll have Pizza Hut logos on the stadium itself. So if you're thinking about this, you're like, okay, I'm watching, I'm playing Madden, I'm at home, you're probably hungry, you might want to get a pizza. Kind of interesting marketing deal because oftentimes people eat junk food while they're playing video games. Do you think this is kind of a next kind of step level for companies to market with football? Obviously, with the season starting, there's a lot of in stadium sponsorships and TV ads and radio ads, but now you have video game ads. What do you think about this?
That's interesting. It's like the next step of advertising. Now we're going to, especially with the rise of esports. That's it seems natural and organic direction to go. It's at the end of the day, it's about eyeballs on the screen, right? And they're seeing some phenomenal product placement going on there. So yeah, it makes total sense.
Well, and I kind of wonder about that too. Is there more money even that some of these players and teams could ask for? Because the Browns might be a more interesting team there than a really bad team. Could the Browns ask for a little bit more money? Right now the rights are distributed to the NFL itself, but it's like you're right. There's esports, but other stuff too is could these guys like say the NBA games? Obviously, LeBron James is a really great basketball player. Could you start putting logos on virtual LeBron for companies? And you're thinking, hey, if you're playing that video game, you're probably more likely to play LeBron than some bad guy. Could there be more money available with that?
I mean, well, the irony of American sports, the top four at least, I never, they've always been reluctant to do um, ads on jerseys, believe the way that they do in soccer. But maybe they could do that, in esports world, that could be, kind of maintain that purity of the jersey, and yeah, we'll see how it continues. But of course, I think then you're going to get in. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff because um, you know, it's kind of like the whole ads on the websites deal. That eventually triggered the need for ad blockers because they put too many ads on there. So you got to be careful not to overdo it.
Well, and here's a picture from what it looks like, but it's interesting. I mean, there's on the TV screen if you watch this on YouTube. There's a image from the game, and yeah, you see the players playing. You can play the game, and obviously there's a pretty big Pizza Hut Stadium logo there. But it's kind of interesting. You're right. I mean, it's like with news websites. You don't want to see too many ads there, but although the Pizza Hut's big, I don't know if it really takes away from the game itself, right? And it's pretty nice and big there, so somebody playing that game could say, "Man, I want some pizza."
And this is what another thing I should go without saying, but Pizza Hut's it's the perfect company to market this, because I'm sure it's targeting a specific demographic, which is the pizza eating video game player. So yeah, this makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean it's fascinating. Along those lines, and I don't have a copy of the ad. It was funny. Last night I'm a Steelers fan, and the Steelers got just destroyed by the Patriots. It was a really bad football game. But watching the bad game, there was a really great ad from Tide yesterday. And I had a friend over to watch the game, and I was telling him, it's kind of funny because it was almost a Super Bowl level ad. They had Peyton Manning as a spokesman, famous player for the NFL, and he was serving the spokesman. And he was talking about, hey, gentlemen, Sunday night is football night. It's not your laundry day. You should do your laundry on Tuesdays. And it was funny because right after that on NBC, their big reality show is The Voice. So the judges were on there going, "Oh no, Tuesday night is the night for The Voice and everything." And then they went to this other day where NBC show Superstore was on, and it was really a really cool ad. I mean, in a night last night with horrible football, it was fun seeing good ads, and bravo to Tide for the good ad. And like I said, I'm intrigued by this video games thing. I know video games aren't necessarily for everybody, but hey, as time goes on, the more unique ways that you could do ads, I think the better off companies are, as well as games and sites that host the advertising.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you see that? I know you're more of a soccer guy. Is it that way in soccer as much? Like on the soccer games, or are there a lot more people playing teams like Messi and some of the other big guys, or is there a big MLS team that seems to be more popular in soccer video games?
I think MLS teams actually do have an esports guy that plays on their behalf in like certain like tournaments. I could be wrong. I don't know much about it, but that's what I've seen talked about online or on Twitter. So yeah, there does seem to be a presence there. So I think official teams are looking at this and kind of moving into that foray. But yeah, everyone always talks about soccer, and MLS is very much part of it, and so yeah, just how they kind of play, or what kind of formations or they use, and I'm sure that influences their belief that they are better than the actual coach of their own team they support. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so and it's interesting too because there's two different types of video games like you're talking about. You're talking about the the leagues that they have of guys who are really great and everything. And then you got guys like me who's kind of casually plays from time to time, but enjoys pizza and some other stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see how that, is changing and developing. And it's a different world out there, man. It used to be video games were something that kids do, and it's now become more of a mainstream type thing. And there's a lot of money to be made there. Well, let's kind of take a little bit of a weird detour here. Um, some kind of weird police stories. Wanted to talk a little bit about this. This actually happened a couple weeks back, but there was a situation alliance where there was a Pennsylvania man in jail on after police arrested him. There was a confrontation at an accident scene, and he told a woman an ethics slur and said "white power." Obviously, there's nothing. This really isn't a funny story, and there's not much funny we could say about it. But is this, Brandon? Are we seeing this more? And you can make the argument that some of the political climate is leading to this and everything. I mean, is this becoming more of a thing? Is it because maybe us in the media or more ready to report this stuff? It seems like I'm seeing more of this as of late. Just people unafraid to kind of yell ethnic slurs during situations.
Well, I'm sure the political climate's contributing to the trend here. I remember not too long ago, there was a story that went around in Columbus social media circles about a woman who, was, came out of a store in the Northeast Side, and some guy yelled some sort of slur or white power or whatever slogan at her, or told her to speak English, or made fun of her religious attire. But I think and of course, the problem in that with that story, my issue is like, there's no way to really verify whether that happened on. I'm happy to believe that is plausible. But it'd be nice to see some video. If I think that's the biggest recommendation. If anyone is saying slurs, get it on camera, get it on video, embarrass the crap out of them. That's my recommendation at this point. I mean, I know it's kind of seems sounds petty, but but that's the but video, because video is it's a lot helps to verify and prove that this is going on in our society, and it needs to be a mirror needs to be held and show the ugliness of it. I know it's probably not like, I imagine if I came out of the store and someone started yelling at me, I'd be taken aback and be like, oh, what? But yeah, it's sad. And yeah, this story is absolutely disgusting. Actions should not be condoned, should be rejected, and felt like this should be, just keep it in the privacy of your mind or in your home.
Yeah, and let's doing some look, and forgive me. I actually saw, according to this Canton Repository story, there was an embedded video. Let's see if this is regarding to what happened here. And I haven't pre-screened this, so excuse any language you see here. But Brand, let's take a look and see if we can see anything here. All right, and this was apparently posted by the woman that was involved in the altercation, and obviously, as you can see, the guy has slur, and you know what I mean. The repository reported that, and we can I'll stop that right now, but.
I can barely hear it, Chris, so I don't know what did he catch you what he said, or?
Yeah, a little bit muffled, but the guy unfortunately called her the N word, and he drove off. And he's in jail. And again, this happened a few weeks back. He was charged with a fifth-degree felony of ethnic intimidation and a misdemeanor charge of aggravated menacing. And you're right, Brandon. I think obviously people need to track that stuff and so they can report on that. Also, too, just in the action scene, obviously, tempers come and go and everything else. But remember out there, everybody's a person. If it's a different skin color or anything else, and obviously, it should go without saying that there's no room for that language or calling people, bad things. But it's sad to see, man.
Well, bad language aside, there are like simple other words you can use in a heated
Right. Well,
without
you're calling
involving
it an evil racial phrase. I mean, yeah,
without
of
using
course.
race, nothing about race need to be brought in. You could call them an a-hole or stupid, but like you would with any person. But race does not need to be involved. Not that to say calling people
Right,
names at
right,
all.
and obviously any type of racial phrase, and obviously of all the horrible racial phrases used, that's by obviously very bad, and I don't know, maybe the moral side of me comes out too, but just kind of like the Bible talks about soft answer turn away wrath, and I know not everybody's into the Bible, but it's kind of interesting in a tough situation like that. Yeah, you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and God bless you because you hit me. But if people can kind of display some type of normalness and potentially niceness, how bad could our world be?
Yeah. Well, I think nothing seems to bring the evil out of people than traffic.
Yeah, definitely. And before we move on, like I said, the video obviously had a very awful, evil term that nobody should use about anybody. And the reason why we play it is just kind of to substantiate and kind of showcase what the woman kind of went through. And obviously, she went for a bad thing. And this guy's in jail, and I'm not sure if he's still in jail or if he's out of jail, but you just can't talk to other people like that. So yeah, definitely goes without saying. So, Brandon, a couple of quick things. Like I said, it may have to be a shorter podcast. My battery is low, and I left my power pack at work, so just kind of note for you to warn you, Brandon. It's been I've had a little bit of a day today, but it's been good. But let's quickly go over some of the other interesting stories out there. NRA, National Rifle Association, people are frustrated, and I'm not sure if they're themselves are to blame for some of these shootings and everything. But obviously, guns are a problem, and I understand, people who get upset at the NRA. It's interesting. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors recently passed a resolution declaring the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. And obviously, it's strong words, but they're saying the city should examine financial relationships with companies that do business with the group. Now, we can have a 10-hour argument if that's right or not. I, I guess, Brandon, is terrorist group kind of seems like a very harsh language. I mean, I'm not sure if I agree with the NRA. I'm not really pro NRA, but is it worth just calling them a terrorist organization?
I think NRA, a terrorist organization, would be kind of an insult to all the actual domestic terrorist organizations. And I'm always saying that kind of jokingly towards, the story reports about their dysfunction or their, some of their conflict of interest issues that they seem to have lately. I think right now, I think the NRA is the least of our concerns. As far as getting common sense gun control passed. I think, and I'm not necessarily saying that NRA, I think NRA needs to be part of that conversation, but I really think they, you know, or right now the tactic and stance they're taking is just kind of standing tall and taking and try to and say the status quo is fine. And as time goes on, what's going to happen is with more mass shootings that are likely to happen, this will put pressure on the NRA. This will put pressure on the Second Amendment. And therefore some sort of change will happen. And I think it's just kind of it's just a matter of when, if not if, at this point. I mean, I think people are kind of fed up. I mean, the probability of you're sending your child to school and them getting shot is probably at a rate that's unacceptable. I'm sure studies will say it's low or still rare, but it's still like when you hear stories about the Sandy Hook parents, like a father who regretted sending his kid to school just because they had the sniffles. That kid had that chance. If only he might have been this much sicker, he might have stayed home and still be around. But a dad's just trying to be a dad, right? No, you can tough it out and go to school that day. And unfortunately, it ends in tragedy. You're one of the few people several people went to Dayton just for a night out at the party district in your neck of the woods, and just for some guy to kind of come out and blast. I'm not sure what his motives were, but yeah, I mean. As if more of these cases happen, and as more of, it's going to get to the point where almost everyone will know someone who is affected by a mass shooting, and we'll see how that pans out.
Well, and I definitely agree with that. And obviously, and the horrifying thing is the longer this goes, it hits closer to home, like what happened in Dayton. And, the longer this goes, you'll start to know people. And God forbid if it happens to one of our families, but, the longer this goes unchecked, it might be a distant relative or a coworker or whatever. And, and no, I definitely agree with you. I think that I'm to a point where something needs to be done. I guess the only thing I kind of caution on is the NRA frustrates me because they haven't gone as far as I think they should. But is that worthy of calling them a domestic terrorist organization? I mean, yes, I'm as frustrated as anybody else right now, but it's a strong language to use. Now, to your point, though, I think where it might help is, and what frustrates me, Republicans and Democrats, is there's way too much money involved in politics. And, this, we've seen all the stories about all these groups that fund the politicians. And the NRA has obviously given tons of money to, Democrats, Republicans in the past and everything. So maybe the thought is if you called a domestic terrorist organization, there's probably a lot more limits that can be made on donations that give to political parties. And maybe that changes some of the, tone in Washington. Does that have something to do with it, maybe?
I have no idea on that. I don't know what the implications of doing that. I do think this action is overblown, and I don't think it solves anything. If anything, it adds to the discourse and adds to the, the dysfunctional aspects of the discourse. Yeah,
I mean, it would be interesting just to say, look, do something. And I gotta give, in Ohio, Mayor Mike DeWitt and not Mayor Mike DeWitt, Mayor Nan Whaley of Dayton, as well as Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. They got together for just a discussion on what could be done to, stop gun violence. And obviously, it was the discussion on a local TV station. Does it mean anything? Will it do anything? Yeah, you can make 500 arguments why it won't. But that said, I like the fact that Republicans and Democrats are getting together to talk. It was a shame. Today, September 9th, President Trump invited, some of the Dayton heroes that stopped this shooter from killing more people. And, it was kind of ironic there was no Democrats there. Now, was it symbolic? Yes. It would have been symbolic if the Republicans and Democrats weren't there or were all there. Yes, it's more symbolic. But, to solve this problem, we got to reach across the aisle. It's disappointing when we see certain people not do that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we're starting to see the cracks, though. I think the Republicans are now with the whole, at least, they're starting to warm to the idea of background checks. Maybe not all are on board, but there's at least, it seems like for the first time, there's at least like, I think because I feel like, again, this keeps happening, and I don't know if this will fade out, if it's just some sort of trend that will fade out after, like plane hijacks did back in the day. I mean, at this point, it could fade out over time, but for now being, I mean, this has been going on for quite a while. I mean, the Times had a story saying, here's all the victims of mass shootings since 1960 something, maybe even before that year. I forgot what year it was exactly, but yeah. And with social media and there's more mass shootings are going to be probably that normally might not even get as much media attention, will even be amplified as much more. And of course, depending on how you define a mass shooting, usually they're, I think, defined as 3 or 4 more killings in single instance. So, yeah, statistics and data will definitely fight over that. I think try to find little things to win over victories over on this issue.
Yeah, it was interesting over the weekend. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who used to be the press secretary for the president, now she's on Fox News as a contributor. She was talking, her take and assessment on gun violence was, we don't value life. And I don't agree with her on much, but I actually agree to that point, because in America, we don't value life. But that said, if you want to value life, we got to do something about it. We can't just throw up our hands and say, "Oh, we don't, value life," and shame, shame, shames. Let's get a lot more guns. You got to say, "Look, we're not valuing life, and what's happening now isn't working." And smarter people than us and people who've got more votes than us can kind of figure out how to change things. But the status quo isn't working. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. And in some ways, Sarah is right in saying we don't value life. But if you say that, we have to do something about it. We can't just throw up our hands and say, "Wow, isn't that too bad?" Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. This conversation will continue going forward, and as long as younger generations, Generation Z, comes into the fold, that the political tidings will change over a period of time. It's just a question of when at this point.
Definitely. Let's close on this last one. And like I said, my battery is quickly fleeting. So, I don't know, Brandon. Kind of interesting. What is it? Well, let's talk about the New Albany man. According to my group of newspapers here in Columbus of Gatehouse, Ohio, there was a 54-year-old New Albany man arrested. This was August 22nd, a couple weeks ago, after police reportedly found your name behind a building. Now, he was charged with this in the past. He was wanted on a warrant. And once he had active warrant for his arrest. So maybe this is a bad example, but Brandon, I guess I'm thinking, maybe it's the tone of the show. We talked a couple weeks ago about the man that had to go to the bathroom and he couldn't make it, so he kind of tried to hide under his car, and they ended up not charging him. Is there some leeway that? And I don't know the story behind this guy. If he was wanted for arrest, he probably should have been arrested anyway. But whatever happened to if you gotta go, you gotta go? I mean, yeah, you shouldn't go in the middle of a store. You shouldn't go in front of a little kid or anything else. But if you're behind,
Well, guys, it looks like Chris's computer battery had died. Um, I don't know how we're going to stop the show, I hope every one of you has a good night, and we'll wrap us up maybe next week. Have a good night, everyone. You died out.